Come here. Get off.
Welcome to this week's episode of The Turn On. This week we are reading Ho Ho Ho, which is a Christmas short by Rilzy Adams, which was published in 2020. So sit back, relax, get your wine, your weed, and whatever you need, and enjoy.
Ho 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 by Rilzy Adams. Myla's nerves were out of control. Was she really doing this? Could she really do this? She'd almost hightailed her ass out of the bar she and her date had decided on before he showed up. Myla? She followed the sound of her name, tilting her head up to the man standing next to her bar stool. She almost melted in relief before anxiety settled in her stomach. Her best friend, Rihanna, had spent hours telling Myla about her misadventures with online dating. Myla had worried she might be catfished because Rihanna made it seem like that was all that happened. The man definitely looked like he did in the photos. He had the same warm brown skin, shaved head, well-shaped beard, and friendly smile. There was one problem, though. Most of his pictures were selfies or of him sitting his ass somewhere, so Myla had not expected him to be so big. She slid off the stool and welcomed him with a hug that had her feeling like a doll in his firm embrace. She stole a glance at his feet and blanched when she realized they were as big as the rest of them. The rest of them! The purpose of the meetup slammed into Myla as she tried, but failed, to get a decent look at his printout in the dark blue jeans he wore. The conversation flowed nicely over drinks, so Myla pushed away her worries about the rest of the night in favor of enjoying his funny stories and dry sense of humor. There was only so much conversation and cocktails they could have before the bartender started asking for the last orders, and they got to the part of the night that had Myla ready to hyperventilate. Was she really doing this? Could she really do this? And could she do this with him? Myla laughed dryly. She wasn't sure she had anything in her sexual arsenal, real or imagined, to prepare her for this. "Let me just run to the restroom," she said when she started entertaining thoughts of ending the date with a firm handshake before hightailing her ass back to the hotel room that she'd booked for the purpose of fucking someone who wasn't Donald alone. "No problem. I'll settle the bill." She left him reaching into his pocket for his wallet and took another glance at his massive ass feet before she moved as quickly as her legs would take her to the bathroom. She had her phone out and ringing Rihanna before the door even closed. "Was it that bad?" her friend said by way of introduction. "Wait, what? No, he's nice. No creepy vibes and honestly hot as hell. So why are you calling me before sunrise?" "I think he's got a huge ass dick." Rihanna laughed. "I'm not sure I see your problem." "I don't have experience with huge ass dicks." She could hear Rihanna shuffling around, and Myla wondered if she'd actually woken her best friend up. "Oh, you don't really have experience with dicks point blank," Rihanna observed. "But come on, you must have known that reindeers don't all have the same size antlers." Rihanna broke into uncontrollable laughter the way she usually did whenever she teased Myla about calling her little adventure Operation Ride a Reindeer instead of something normal like Myla gets some dick. "Can you have fun at my expense later, bitch? I'm freaking the hell out right now." Her friend took her time getting herself together. Once the laughter stopped and she caught her breath, Rihanna said, "Our pussies are equipped to handle big-headed babies. No worries. You can handle that dick. And don't call me back until you fucked him." Rihanna disconnected the call before Myla could say anything else, leaving her standing in the bathroom, fighting the urge to run a mile. "Don't forget to ho, ho, ho." The unbidden memory of the bartender she spent hours hatching her insane plan with floated through her mind just as her resolve started wavering. She washed her face and took a deep breath. Okay, calm down, she urged herself, and go handle that dick. You good? The sound Mila made in her throat was non-committal, but her date didn't seem too pressed about it. He was too busy telling her he had a great time and hoped they would meet up again. It took him helping her into her coat and offering to get her an Uber before Mila realized that this man didn't come with an expectation of entitlement to get his dick wet. She had to peel Donald off of her after their first date since he was as enthusiastic as a dog humping his owner's leg. But there was no such desperation from this man. Wait, was it that he didn't find her attractive? Had she misread the signal she thought he'd been sending all night? Shit. Mila had never propositioned a man before. She couldn't even lean up and kiss him because he towered over her even though she was damn near 5'7". I got a room at the Hilton, she began, tripping over her words. I'm not sure if you want to come back for a drink or something. His dimples came out to play when he smiled, and suddenly her pussy was just as insistent as Rihanna that she go handle that dick. Or, at least, die trying. He caught his bottom lip between his teeth, and Mila flushed hot, imagining him doing the same to her nipples. I could use a drink. He kept his hands to himself during the short walk to the hotel and sat on the bed even as she poured a mini bottle of whiskey on ice for him. He was waiting, she realized. Waiting for her to get comfortable. Waiting for her to make the first move. But Mila was starting to wonder if she could. He shot back the whiskey in one go and placed the tumbler on the nightstand before crooking his index finger toward her. Come here, he said, patting his lap so that there was no misunderstanding his intention. Mila took a deep breath and steadied herself. He grabbed her when she was close enough to him. His fingers dug into her ass through the dress she wore, sending rivulets of pleasure shooting through her. He angled her so her crotch landed straight against his hard dick and she made a small, startled cry in her throat. Mila wasn't sure she believed the whole shoe size, dick size correlation theory, but it was spot on in his case. She could feel the panic creeping in, but he thrust his hips so his heavy dick pressed further against her pussy. She moaned, feeling her pussy moisten. Mila licked her lips and angled her head so he could press his mouth to hers as he rocked his dick against her pussy again. Then again. And again. The attraction that had been steadily building between them all night exploded, and suddenly everything was a frenzy. The urgency with which she grinded herself against his rock-hard dick. A frenzy. His teeth grazing across her neck and fingers digging hard into her ass cheeks. A frenzy. The wetness pooling between her thighs. A frenzy. She was high on anticipation when he helped her out the dress and dropped to his knees, parting her thighs before diving face first between her legs and running his tongue along her slit before capturing her clit in his mouth and sucking. She jerked against him, a wanton scream ripping from her throat as she succumbed to the spine-tingling pleasure of his tongue, expertly working her overcaused. Mila would later reflect on how Donna wouldn't be caught dead eating her out like that. He fussed so much about eating her out at all that she generally left him alone. But she couldn't think about it then, not when this sexy-ass man dipped his tongue in and out of her pussy before he replaced it with a finger. And then 2, and then 3. She was grinding against his face when the orgasm pummeled into her. It took a few minutes before she came back to earth, panting hard and overcome with lust. She forgot she was ever anxious about another man touching her, and she forgot she'd been worried about the size of his dick when he started undressing. His boxers fell to the floor, finally revealing what had been hiding there. Fuck. His dick throbbed as if it could feel her staring at it. She couldn't move her eyes as he rolled on the condom he'd taken from his wallet. She peeped the packaging and couldn't stop the smirk from spreading across her face. He definitely was the market for Magnum XLs. You good? He asked when he finally joined her on the bed. He hovered over her, bracing his weight on his forearms as he nibbled on her earlobes while he waited for her answer. Was she good? Well, she was hornier than she'd ever been in her life and anxious about him trying to fit his supersized dick in her, but it only took a few seconds to realize that she was good. In fact, she felt better than she had in a long-ass time. She felt freer than she had in a long-ass time. She was more excited than she'd been in a long-ass time. I'm great, she said with a smile as his mouth found hers. She was trying to think of how she would handle that dick when he nudged his head against her entrance, but her pussy stretched, eagerly and happily, to accommodate him as he slid inside. And then, Mila couldn't think of anything at all.
So, Killer, give us the good old 1-2, the rundown, the synopsis, the nitty gritty, the dirt.
Yes. So, in this short, which yes is set in Christmas, but we was like, why do we have to wait till December to run some shit that we like?
Exactly.
So
Sex is evergreen.
Exactly. So our main character is getting a divorce or just finished a listen.
She just signed. She just finished. Yeah,
she just yes. And so she's at a bar and talking to the very cute bartender and basically like recounting all the things that she wishes that she hadn't done and all the things that she wants to do. And one of the things that she wishes that she hadn't done was marry the first person who she fucked. And one of the things that she wants to do, or the main thing, is fuck a whole bunch of people so that she can find out what it is that she actually likes. And
yes, them dicks.
Exactly. And so she's telling the bartender she's feeling a little bit of a vibe, but they don't, take it no further than him just being a really good listener while she, pours out her heart over her drinks that he keeps coming. And then we jump to a year later and they meet up again. Yeah. Dot.
And also like what happens in between.
Oh. So in that year, she does exactly what she says she's going to do. I think she calls the men reindeer. And so she wants to fuck with all of Santa's reindeer. And so she does. And so when she meets back up with him by chance while they were Christmas shopping, it's a year later. And he's like, yo, you got to tell me all the stories of what you did in the past year. Are you counting the reindeer? And so they go sit down. And she tells him all of the stories. And so each chapter in the book is her telling the story of having sex with these various dudes. And then how much do we tell? Do we leave it there? Yeah. There's some attraction there. And then you see what happens.
Okay. So to me, the biggest theme in this story was virginity.
Yeah.
I like how Rilzy wrote about it. I think that she wrote how virginity is. I don't know if it. People like virginity is a construct, right? It's your first time having sex.
Yeah, we hold it up as this precious. I don't know.
Precious.
I did.
Flower.
Yeah. Oh, flower.
And there was something there was a line in the first chapter where she said, Mila said that she revered her virginity and her ex-husband fetishized it. And I thought that was so interesting because I think, on one hand, girls are taught your virginity is something so special and save it. And then you got these lecherous motherfuckers on the other side talking about, ooh, I'm gonna be the first to take it, Even though
it's
interestingly
so
enough,
nasty.
I've talked to what'd you say?
It just feels really icky to me.
Yeah.
And lecherous. I don't like it.
At all.
Yeah.
But it's interesting that she talks about it like that because she can look back and say, hey, this is what, like this is what was put in me and what I thought made it special and important, which then resulted in her falling in love and marrying the first motherfucker that walked by,
Yeah.
And I mean that,
that
didn't have a
that fell
problem
into
with
her.
it. Right?
Yeah.
Because she mentioned like some dudes was like, I'm good. And actually I've talked to guys who are hesitant to date virgins at our age, at our big age, just because they're like, yo, I don't want to be that special.
I mean, I have to imagine that if you have been saving it, waiting for the right person, whatever it is, right, that gets you to this age and having not had sex, that for some people at least, there is a whole lot that is built into that. And yeah, if you get to the point where you trust somebody enough to actually go down that road, if they turn out to not be who you want them to be or who they portray themselves to be, which we know happens all the fucking time.
All the fucking time. Unfortunately,
that
it's
could be devastating. Yeah. But I can imagine it being that much more built up if, it came attached to this thing that you have been waiting to do for literally decades.
Yeah. No,
yeah.
I can't do it. And we actually recently talked to to an author, and she was talking about her virginity and was like, look, it was special to me just because I wanted to make sure that I had a good time.
Right.
And that I appreciate. I mean, like the idea of like your flower is precious and it can't be spoiled. It has to be touched by the right person. That makes it a little like Lord of the Rings-ish, right?
It's interesting, right? Yes, it feels very much like my precious. But also it's like, okay, you have these children who you are hoping will not just throw their pussy into the wind or whatever part they got into the wind. But at the same, so we haven't gotten to that point in this house in terms of conversations. And it's making me think about, how do I frame that? Like right now, all we talk about is masturbation. It's yours. And we talk about agency. Nobody else should touch it. We haven't gotten to the point of like when you decide you want to share this pleasure. I guess I have to hope that the lessons I'm giving her kind of ladder up to that, right? In terms of who gets to touch you, all the lessons we talk about around boundaries, like all of that stuff goes into interpersonal relationships, and who you choose to let into your space, I guess, is where it goes. I can't imagine myself saying, hey, that's your flower and it's precious, but I also want her to understand that it has value just like the rest of her.
Yeah. Like, and so I was talking to a young person who recently lost her virginity. And who recently had sex for the first time. And she comes from a very sex positive family. And let me take that back. Not that she doesn't come from a sex positive family, but her parents are very like, look, you're an adult, adults do things, this is sex, yada, yada, yada. But also she had like the whole society, church. And so she had sex for the first time with a guy that wasn't her like forever love. And she like really got down on herself. And I'm like, yo, like, it's okay. Like, did you enjoy yourself? Were you protected? Like, let's focus on that. Like the fact that like, I'd rather you have sex for the first time with someone that you're like, I just really want to have sex with this person, and not build it up like, oh, we had sex because this is my future husband. Because then that's really setting yourself up for something.
Yeah. That freaks me out.
Yeah. And so I was trying to talk to her and explain like, yo, like what?
Imagine if you had married the first person you had sex with.
Well, first.
Rock biter?
No, Rock Bottom was the first person that kissed me.
The first kiss, yes.
Yeah, I couldn't even say that boy's name. He played an instrument in the band. I couldn't even say if the nigga was a percussionist or a trumpet. trombone player or something. But yeah, nah. And so I felt bad. And to me, I was just like, because it's one of those situations where like, this is, I won't say it's like, it's not like it's special, but at the same time, like, this is your first time having sex. I want you to enjoy it or have a positive experience, not be like riddled with this guilt, like you did something wrong or y'all did something wrong, you know?
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
This woman I was talking to, we were talking about the sex ed program and we were talking about setting rates. And she said, sex and money are the two things that if you don't have enough of, something's wrong. And if you have too much of it, something's wrong. I was like, oh my goodness. And yeah, but there's never a just right, like, is there like some like world scale of how much money is just enough or how much sex is just enough?
So like too much in the terms of like capitalism is bad. And if you're a billionaire, bitch, give some of your money away.
Yeah. Like don't be a Jeff Bezos, but also don't be a,
Okay, but what's the equivalent in sex? Like addiction or
being a whore?
What's wrong with that?
Exactly, right? Like, I mean, it's just people say,
Yeah,
I don't think
like, wait, what's
wrong with having a whole bunch of money? Like,
right?
I want to be rich, but there's, but like,
I want to be rich, but I don't think billionaires should exist.
Okay.
We can't agree to this. I just think that the system is broken when you have people who are hoarding wealth and who are shitty to the people who they employ. And when you have folks who, have to be on assistance and have jobs to be able to survive, with the people who own those companies are literally on some fucking Scrooge McDuck shit.
I don't disagree with you. I'm just saying this isn't a matter for us to disagree or not disagree, because I ain't gonna get to that point, so you ain't gotta worry about me being faced with such a moral dilemma. Well, if I do, we'll revisit it, okay? But right now, I'm not swimming in gold coins in my basement. So, but yeah, like it's like that. Like you don't want to have somebody that's like, oh, I'm out fucking the world. This is not me, but this is them. They say. You don't want people to, like be out having sex with everybody. And you also don't want people having too much money, because then it's like, oh my God, you got too much money. What are you doing with it? And like, I'm thinking not in a Jeff Bezos sense, but in like my cousin bought a yacht type, or like she drive that real nice car. She could be driving a Honda and give her cousin some, that kind of shit.
Lord, it's a prime example. I always tell, my partner, like, the whole Karen, whatever. I'm like, I describe that as white people minding other people's business. Like, this is like the prime example of folks minding other folks' business. Like, mind your motherfucking business
And not mine. Stay out my puss.
Yes. Yes.
And so, yeah, I think
that's a song. It's none of your business. Episode title.
If I want to take a guy home with me tonight, it's none of your business.
It's none of your business. And if she want to be your friend,
episode title
on the weekend.
So yeah, I mean, I just think the whole idea of virginity, and not only because if you think about it, like everyone talks about this virginity thing, but there are so many fucking downsides to this one thing. Like, there's so many downsides to like, oh, I lost my virginity to him. And then there's like, he could be a dick. He could fetishize it. You could, like there's so much wrapped up into it. And it's like, nigga, what is the good of it other than controlling women and telling them?
Right.
When
we frame it that way, it's just like, I really like the way that you reframe that language when you're talking about the person who you had that conversation with. It's not that you lost this thing. Is that you had sex for the first time, which, puts it on par with having sex for the 36th time. Like, it is an experience that you have, and that's it, right? You try to maximize it. You should be, I hope. Of course, that's what we hope everybody who's listening to this show is doing, is trying to maximize their experiences and have the best possible, safest time that they can have. And that should be it.
Yeah, but it ain't a, first time. God, I'm fluffy. I gotta send a length in my neck. Okay.
You do not look fluffy.
So Mila also mentioned in passing, but it stood out in my head, that she said that she was faking orgasms with her partner. Did you? It was like she mentioned it in passing in like the first.
Yeah.
I keep saying first paragraph, but yeah, like it was one of those like I was faking it just to not hurt his feelings or something like that.
Yeah.
And I'll be honest, I used to fake it. To not hurt people's feelings, to get it over with.
Oh,
but I learned that sex is so much better if you were just quiet until he does it right. Like, nigga, you gotta earn this squirm. I mean, not that I'm completely silent, but I mean, like, I will guide and give direction. Mm-hmm. But I think that once I've like lost the idea of trying to help please them and make them feel better about themselves, it was like, oh, nigga, because
sex.
Because then they gonna keep just doing what they doing, thinking that it's good, and it's like, no.
It's just, I always say you teach people how to treat you, and the same thing goes for sex. So I've never faked it, and more than once I've told a nigga to get off me.
Get off of me! Get up!
I'm not gonna tell you that you're doing what that you're pleasuring me and you're not, because then you're gonna think that you should just do that again, and then that's honestly, what we're doing, and no thank you.
Yeah, and not even on some like they're bad people. It's just like, oh, okay, she likes
that. Doesn't work for me.
No.
Right. Well, and that's just them being, that's actually them being perceptive and receptive. Exactly. If you moan when they touch you here, even though that shit don't feel good to you, if he's paying attention and tuned in, he's going to say, okay, she likes when I touch this part this way. I'm going to do it again. And you're teaching them
the wrong
pleasure you incorrectly. Mm-hmm. So I've never faked it. I have literally said, hey, you should just finish.
I think it was when I was,
hey, you should get up off me right now.
It was when I was much younger and more like sex was more it was less about me and more about what we were doing together, which it can be, but I'm fucking because I want to fuck.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, it just made me sad because it was like, not only is, she having sex with this person and it's like the only person she's ever had sex with, so she has nothing to compare it to, but also she knows it's bad because she's not getting to where she wants to get to.
Exactly. It'd be different if she was like, oh, hey, I didn't know all these colors existed, but she's like, oh, I know there's some colors. Just saying,
that made me feel bad. And it brings me back to this idea of this person who wants to be the person to take something from you. And it immediately puts me like in a fucking narcissist headspace of like, I want to be the only one. I want you to think that this is all that there is, right? I am the only story that you get to tell. You can never know if my dig game is shitty because you don't have anything to compare it to. And this is why I seek out, it's like this predator. Ooh, It makes my skin crawl. Clearly.
And it also just keeps it. This is why, like, my biggest thing as a sex educator is I feel like women end up loving the sex they're given. And not the sex that they've explored or learned to love.
Yeah, or if they're lucky, right? Because they might also just hate the sex that they're given, like Mila.
Yeah. Yeah. Like I feel like I talk to women and like, oh yeah, I like it from the back. And it's like, yeah, because out of the 6 partners you had, 2 of them did it really well from the back. But let's try. Yeah. Let's explore. Let's see what else is out there. Because you might find something that you realize, hey, I like, And some things you can just look at and be like, you know what? I see water sports. I'm not into water sports. That's not my ministry.
Right.
But, I think that we don't get the opportunity to explore, Like in my mind, a nigga putting his finger in my butthole like freaked me out until that shit happened, and I was like, I'll be your little bowling ball.
Don't knock it till you try.
Don't knock it till you try. Yeah, so I just think it's so important for us to explore. Do homosexual people have like the same hang-ups about virginity as heteros?
Yeah, I don't know. I can't speak for the queer community, but I feel like we're all socialized to think that sexual contact with other people is like, first we're taught that it's dirty, right? We're taught that it's dangerous. We talked about this, I think, on an episode with Jasmine, where, we had this conversation about the ways that sex education is taught. It was somebody else too, that sex education, Halen, is taught in schools, right? Like it's all framed around, hey, you can get sick. Mm-hmm. And hey, don't let anybody touch you. Like that's the way sex ed is taught in this country. And I think that is that beginning seed of that shit. Even going back before that, when so often people are told not to touch themselves, that's dirty. Like I think that there's all these negative associations that are attached to our genitals and to sex and to sexual interaction. And I feel like we all get that, no matter, how we identify or who we love. So, I don't know, but I think it's all the same. I think we all get told. And then they've got the added stigma of the fact that you're taught that you're not supposed to like somebody that's not of the opposite sex. Mm-hmm. Like, so I feel like it's even fucking worse.
Yeah. Yeah. Ugh. I just hope that we haven't gotten there yet. Except my child is in health class. I was like, so if you have any questions, I'd be more than happy to discuss them with you. And he was like, I ain't talking about that with you. In his mind, he said, I ain't talking about that shit with you. But he didn't say that out loud to me.
Shit. So I think we had our first class about that in the 4th grade when I was a kid.
See, it's supposed to be 5th grade here. But then Rona.
COVID,
so they so they're doing it in the 6th grade for the kids.
Okay, cool.
And it's more about health and, like it's about health, but then this is a part of it because they made you like sign some waiver or something. I said, so what are they talking about in class? He said, wear deodorant. I was like, well, I'm glad they're covering that too.
Good, because y'all stink.
I'd rather you have lots of discussion around that because, baby. Yeah. Okay. So our main character, Mila, met this guy. He wasn't like put off by her being a virgin, so he became her man. She married him. She found out he was cheating on her. And he gave her chlamydia.
Motherfucker.
And you know what? This reminds me of like...
That happened to me in college.
We don't get that. We don't get to that because it's one of those things where I remember when I was married and we were really trying to get pregnant and I couldn't get pregnant, and I just completely remember being like, "But I did everything right," And I can only imagine her being like, "Yo, I did everything right. I waited till I lose my virginity, and now this is what happened." And I just think, again, this is why this fucking virginity construct just fucking sucks. But, so he cheated on her, gave her a stud. Every time I see save the dates, I think of STD. But yeah, so he gave her STD. Would you like to share your story?
Sure. In college, fucking around with this dude. We were together, but it was definitely a very on and off for a couple of years in college situation. And during one of our breaks, we were still friends. So it wasn't exactly cheating, but also it was lying. He said that he wanted to have sex with his best friend. We weren't together technically at this point, and we talked about it. And this was a person who I had always felt like they had an inappropriate, relationship for someone who was in a relationship. And this was very much the beginning of the end. And he was like, oh, and I was like, all right, well, we ain't together, whatever. So went and had sex with her. Came back. We ended up getting back together. He had swore up and down, that he used condoms, everything else. Guess who goes in for her annual checkup? Wasn't having any symptoms or anything. Just went in for my checkup. And they're like, you have chlamydia. And I'm like, what the fuck? He was the only person I had sex with. He had sworn that he had used condoms with this person. I was dumb enough to believe him. Mm-hmm. When I said something to him about it, he was like, well, she was a virgin. I was like, nigga, she lied to you and you lied to me. I'm like, I could have ended up with pelvic inflammatory disease and been infertile. Like, I had literally no idea. Yeah. Thank God I regularly get checked for everything. Exactly. Because otherwise I had no symptoms. I would not have known.
Yeah.
So, yep. So it wasn't exactly cheating, but it was a lot of lying.
Yeah. And so, I think about two situations. Actually, it was with the same guy, but not necessarily an STD, but my health was really fucking bad because of that relationship. Mm-hmm, I kept getting recurring BV. Mm-hmm. And in my mind, it was just like, oh, his sperm throws off my vagina. No, this nigga was sticking his dick in every goddamn thing. Bringing back, no, my pussy don't mix with hers. That's what it is.
Yeah, he's throwing your pH off with other pussy.
Exactly. So it was that. And then remember when I had those cysts? Mm-hmm. I totally forgot about it until as I was, working on this. So I used to have these. So everybody has, well, not everybody. People with vaginas and vulvas have what are called Bartholin cysts. These cysts secrete fluids, part of what makes you wet, all of that. Mm-hmm. Did I say Bartholin cysts? They're Bartholin glands. And so I remember one day I was in this relationship and it was just it was a bad relationship. Like, I don't even want to, on one hand, I want to say I don't want to go as far as saying as it was, emotionally abusive, but
he was emotionally abusive.
Yeah. I mean, like he tried to.
Everybody, we just called it as him being an asshole, but he was emotionally abusive. Exactly. He was an asshole to everybody, and I hated him. Sorry, I still feel strongly about that.
I appreciate it. Get you a best friend and hold a grudge better than you do. Okay, so, and I remember I don't know what, I think we were about to go out of town or it was something that was really high stress. And we had sex and I felt like this lump, something down in my vagina. Way down yonder in my pussy hole. And so I went to the doctor and she was like, yeah, you have a cyst in this Bartholin gland. Sometimes it happens to women. If we are going to lance it, drain it, it'll heal. You'll be fine. And that shit was like a constant recurrence in my life for probably about 6 months to a year, probably maybe even a little longer than that. So it was to the point where like literally I was going to the doctor like every 2-3 months. And like it was literally a cyst the size of a fucking golf ball in your vagina. And it gets so big, it pushes everything else to the side and be hanging out like, and then it's like, it's a cyst. So it's tender and sore and you can't sit down.
You have to use the ice packs.
It was
Then I remember we discovered that the ones that they give you after you have a baby were perfect because you took all the ones from my hospital.
And then like when you get it lanced, like pretty much they like lance it open, and then I just like had to sit on a fucking
and like drain
pee pad for days. It was like the fucking worst. And so the culmination of it all was I had to like get this surgery, and essentially what they do is cut it open, flip it back, and stitch it open so that it constantly drains. Yellow. And then, I mean, I don't know if the surgery worked or if the relationship ended and a bitch got better. But yeah, it was one of those things where like I went through so much physical shit from being in this horrible fucking relationship. Thinking it was just like, oh, I'm going to... No, bitch, your body is telling you in every goddamn way possible that this ain't where the fuck you need to be, right? It's crazy.
It always knows. It always knows.
The body keeps the score.
That's true.
Ugh. That was disgusting. I mean, I've had relationships where nigga lied and I got burnt, but
which is unfortunately fucking common.
Too common and not talked about, right?
Yeah, I'm like that's happened to me 3 times, and it also was like, okay, God, because you think you're at the point where you can be having safe sex with someone and not have to worry about that, but niggas lie. They need
really just taking a chance.
You are.
So yeah,
fucking gamble.
What'd you say?
It's a fucking gamble.
Yes, like the TikTok dance.
I don't know what that is.
The kids do this. You a hating ass hater.
I don't even know. I feel like if your niece was here though, she would laugh at you.
So, hoe phase, post-divorce hoe phase. So our heroine, our main character, she realized that she missed out on a lot of shit while she was married. And so she said, you know what? I'm going to go and sample the delights of the world. I'm going to go and sow my royal oats. And it made me think about like post-divorce rituals or post-trauma rituals. You know how like you come out of something and then you're like this is what I got.
Dreads.
What'd you say?
When they cut their dreads or they cut their hair.
Oh my God. Yup. And again, Waiting to Exhale. I didn't understand. I mean, I liked the movie as a kid, but now that I'm an adult, nigga, I love that movie.
Oh, I should watch it again. I mean, I know all the words. I watched it so many times as a kid.
Watch it as an adult, and it's gonna hit different, as the kids say.
I say you raggedy bitch at least like every other week.
You leather wearing in the summertime, motherfucker. Me and my little sister used to say that about one of my aunts' friends. Was it the same one that we cussed out and I sent you the video?
The other day,
screenshots. I think it was.
You say niggas don't know how to treat you. That's my shit. I love that movie.
Yeah, so of course there is but even think about like remember when the Deltas before us crossed and then everybody cut their hair? Not everybody, but so many on their line cut their hair. A lot
of them cut
and
their
they was like, did they do something? Yeah, so I found that. But I mean, like I cut my hair coming out of my marriage. And I think when I cut my hair, it was a sign to my ex-husband and like, oh, this bitch is gone. She for the streets.
He said something in your therapy session, like, really?
Oh, and she cut her hair. I was like, I'm a bad bitch. Bad bitches cut their hair. But yeah, because to me, cut my hair short was like very much when I most felt
like
myself.
Like yourself. Yeah.
Like
it was, for us, it was like, oh, Erica's back.
Iconic. Yeah. And then it was just like, oh, she's back. Yeah. And so, when I cut it, I was just like, yo, I'm ready for, and I didn't even think of it that way as like a start, but yeah, it was definitely all right.
I mean, why did you grow your hair out?
For a nigga. Because
Exactly.
the nigga said that he liked my hair. Yeah, I started letting my hair grow out because I was with a dude and he was like, oh, it's the same fucking relationship. yeah, oh, you should let your hair grow. You should let your hair grow. And so I did, thinking I'd fucking please this motherfucker.
You should suck my dick. Fuck you. Ugh.
I just,
Okay.
the disdain you have is just, yeah. And then it was just kind of like, it was the thing, but no, I needed to, this is Erica. And even now, as I try to let it grow out, see, I have a little shangle dangle right there. Hold on, right there. Biracial. She's a biracial girl. Biracial.
Oh my God.
But yeah, even as I let it grow out, like it's only gonna get to a certain point, and then like this is firmly Erica. I'll be that snazzy old aunt driving her Thunderbird T-top with a Benson and Hedges, and I might buy myself a cigarette pack. I don't think I'm gonna put cigarettes in it, maybe change, but you get what I'm saying.
But they're a cute little, like a little purse situation.
Definitely
Point
80s
purse.
aesthetic. Fast auntie aesthetic. Now I got the long nails with a rounded tip, not a coffin. Okay, yeah. So it made me think about like just post-divorce, post-trauma rituals, things that we do. I think we always talk about a whole phase. Everybody has to go through their whole phase. Some people aren't meant for whole phases. I don't think did you ever have a whole phase?
Yes, I did.
Your whole phase, you were like kissing a lot of boys. My whole phase, I was like having threesomes.
No, ma'am. Okay, well, yes, our whole phases were different. My whole phase was after my ex died. And that is, yeah.
That was a wild motherfucking time.
Okay.
Yeah, that was a wild time.
Yeah. There was a lot. A lot happened. I sold all the oats in that time.
All the oats in New York City were sown. We're just going to call you
and
Mrs. Quaker.
Other cities and other countries.
Oh, God.
It was a time.
It was a time. What a time to be alive.
Yeah. But before that, I had never felt like it was something that I needed to do. I definitely thought that a whole phase wasn't a thing that I needed. But I had gotten to a point where I was like, I don't ever want to be in a relationship again. So I'm going to just be out here fucking niggas.
You know, yeah, I think all people go through that, especially people just coming out of a divorce. They're like, I'm never getting married again. Because I know for sure when I got divorced, I was like, while I was married, I was like, this shit don't work. It's it. I'm done. Right? And then coming out of my marriage, I was like, I'll just forever be the auntie with, Mr. Clarence who live around the corner and come spend a night. But he got his own place and auntie got her own place. And I think I told you about this. I went to a brunch with a bunch of women who had been married, divorced, and were like on their second marriages. And they were like, this shit is pretty damn perfect. Because they were like, I built this.
We're intentional about creating what you want.
Exactly what I want it to be, And yeah, so that's the part I look forward to when finding my forever partner, like for that shit to be like good.
Yeah.
But until then, this pussy's for the streets.
I definitely went through a period where I was like, I'm good. And then I was like, dip my toe into dating. And then it was terrible. And then therapy and everything else. And now, I have so much joy. Like, I don't even want to imagine. But you didn't even think
that it was possible to get this much joy.
I have never experienced
from a relationship. Or,
yeah, well, I have a lot of joy in general, but the relationship is a contributing factor as opposed to like something that's dragging my shit down, which is what it used to be.
Yeah, it's like adding salt. Like it adds salt to your life. Like everything's there, but it just makes you taste everything else so much better.
Yes.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Here we go with her food ass analogies.
Food is delicious.
I was talking to this chick, one of my breasties. And she was like, all you do is eat. I said, yeah. She was like, I didn't realize that. She said, I knew you like to eat when you were talking about you prefer to have an early morning surgery. And she was like, yeah, I like morning surgeries because the doctor's fresh. I'm like, no, I don't want to have to wait all day to eat. And she was
gotta
like,
be NPO all day.
you hungry ass. Like, all you do is fucking eat. And I was like, yeah, girl.
I think that's a good reason, though, because you're fucking NPO from midnight. Like, yeah, no, let me get this over with so I can eat.
Yeah. I come out of surgeries like, food.
You do. And so we always make sure we coordinate so your ass can eat as soon as you get home.
Yup. One time, because I have like a wheat allergy. And so one time I was coming out and they're like, oh, you have wheat allergy on your thing. We can't give you these crackers.
Them fucking crackers you said.
Bitch, you gonna give me the motherfucking crackers. We're gonna be in here fighting. I'm gonna flip something. And then like crackers and cold apple juice. Okay, so we have a whole phase. We have cutting hair. What other post-trauma, post-divorce rituals?
I think folks go on trips, like
Yes.
girls' trips, kind of a thing.
I'm doing my Eat, Pray, Love.
Exactly.
Mhm.
I don't know. What else do people
Jump into
do?
shitty relationships.
A friend of a friend did that, and I got a text saying that it was over, and I cheered.
Good.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I
was
think,
so very glad to hear that.
when I first started dating post-divorce, I did meet some nice guys. Some were kind of weird, but I did meet some nice guys. And I remember being very clear about the fact that, girl, this shit ain't gonna last. I mean, not like I knew it had an expiration date, but I knew this shit wasn't gonna last because it's like, bitch, you going through some shit,
Yeah.
This ain't gonna be the same. So, yeah, haircut and trying to think if there's anything interesting that I've heard about.
I mean, I remember like going back into my wardrobe and pulling out the color. Like I hadn't realized like how drab and you know what I mean?
Oh,
Remember y'all call me Kenrya
shoes.
2.0. Like I just started dressing again and wearing lipstick. I hadn't been wearing makeup. Like I hadn't been doing any, I mean, I never wear anything but lipstick, but I hadn't been doing any of those things.
Mhm.
And I very much was like, oh, I'm still this person.
Yeah.
I don't have to be, So I pulled out all my lips and pulled out the clothes I loved and got back to myself in a lot of ways.
Because I think that there's a point where you kind of like want to connect with that person that you were. But then you also got to match that with that person that's learned so much from this situation. And then that makes, you Kenrya 2.0 or, Thick and Juicy 2.0. Yeah.
Spoke that shit into existence.
I did. So y'all, when I was in college, I was rail thin. Like I had abs. I was like a stick. And the running joke among all my friends was that I was thick and juicy. I call myself thick and juicy. I get drunk. I go out. I meet men. What's your name? Thick and Juicy. You'd be like, what? One of my line
There
sisters.
was no thickness. There was no juice.
One of my line sisters called me thin and dry. She's like, okay, thin and dry. So yeah, so I then like that shit just
You spoke to you got your grown woman weight. You spoke that shit into
spoke that
existence.
shit into
Got an ass you ain't have.
Mhm. Now I got a wagon that I'm dragging. Cheaters. Have you ever cheated? Or do you want to plead the fifth?
Yeah, no, I cheated once.
Okay.
I did. Story. So I was in a long distance relationship, and the guy was in law school, and you know him well. And it was the end of his freshman year. And in law school, they only, are you serious? You can't think of who this person is?
Keep telling. Keep talking.
Lord have mercy. They only have exams at the end of the year.
Is that the one with the white girl?
No.
Okay.
Who is that? Just think about it. And so I went to go visit across the country for just a regular visit. And I remember the moment when I decided I was done. He was talking about that there was some book he's supposed to have for class, and he was like, I mean, why I gotta buy it if I can just get somebody to give it to me? And I remember in that moment being like, oh, this nigga is lazy and he gonna be lazy forever. And so in my mind in that moment, I decided that this relationship was over, but he was getting ready to go on the finals. Yes.
Yeah.
Well, he did, but he complained about it. No, he is not married to a white girl. I'll tell you later.
Yeah, we don't have
I
was
fly
gonna tell you to hold
back
up a
to
sign,
New York.
But never mind.
You can't. I fly back to New York and I'm like, all right, it's over, but I'm gonna just let him rock and let him finish his finals. I'm like, I don't want to drop this on him as he's trying to study and prepare because, I'm a nice person. Mm-hmm. Meanwhile, there had been somebody who had been sniffing around for quite some time, very much on this. If I was your nigga, I would never. In my ear all the time. And I was just like, well, yeah. And I was like, in my mind, it was over. And yeah, it was wrong because we were still together. But also, I was literally just biding my time until he called and said he was done with his last exam. And so I went over to this nigga's house. And it was definitely a mid-20s, early 20s, however the fuck old I was situation. There was the lackluster massage. There was you got to take off your shirt because I can't hear you. Yeah, and so that was that. I did it and whatever. And so yeah, I kind of felt bad, but honestly not really because in my mind it was over and I wasn't doing anything to grow the relationship. I was just waiting. And so a week later, he was done. Called him up and was like, this ain't gonna work. We ain't the same. We should end this. And he basically was like, okay. And I was like, oh, thank you for making this shit easy. I guess I should have told your raggedy ass a week ago. And then I went and had this blemish on my record.
So it's a blemish with an asterisk. Okay.
Yeah. And then that was that. That was it. That's my cheating story. That's the one time I ever cheated on anybody. You.
All right. Next. I'm not going to say that I'm a cheater, but I will say that I have cheated in the past.
Cheating has happened.
Oh, yeah. I'm trying to think of a situation that I can tell that won't leave me, that will keep. There have been situations in which I've cheated. Let me just say that. Most of them have been like, the relationship was almost over, and it was just, we was just holding on to each other. I think if he found out that I had cheated, he'd be like, all right, I was too. One of those things. Not that it makes it any better because it's still dishonest. I'm not a cheater now. No one is a cheater. I don't cheat now. I'd just rather be like, look, this ain't working. But to say that, I haven't in the past would be a big ass lie. Don't stand next to me because I will get struck down by our Lord and Savior. Okay.
Well,
so what'd you say?
I said, welp.
Yeah. Well, with that, I think that wraps up this part of the story. You got this part of the episode. Do you have anything else to add, Killer?
No, we gotta go pay some bills right quick.
Yep. And we'll be back.
Hey y'all. Today's a great day to start your own podcast. Whether you're looking for a new marketing channel, have a message you want to share with the world, or just think it'd be fun to have your own show like us, podcasting is an easy, inexpensive, and fun way to expand your reach online. And Buzzsprout is hands down the easiest and best way to launch, promote, and track your podcast. Your show gets put online and listed in all the major podcast directories like Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google, literally everything, within minutes of finishing and uploading your recording. We use it here for the Turn On, and I can truly attest to the fact that it's pretty fucking dope. Podcasting isn't hard when you have the right partners, and the team at Buzzsprout is passionate about helping you succeed. So join over 100,000 podcasters like us who are already using Buzzsprout to get their message out to the world. Just click the link in our show notes and you'll be able to get your own account set up. And if you sign up for a paid plan, you'll get a $20 Amazon gift card and support our show. Let's create something great together. Sign up for Buzzsprout today. What's turning us on?
Yes. Wait, it ain't the same. We're going to talk about
What's turning
No, you didn't do it. Okay. 5, 6, 7, 8. We're back, and we're going to talk about.
What's turning us on?
Okay. We're keeping all that shit in there. Okay, so y'all, today, what's turning us on? Okay, so we went to the only and most important HBCU in the world, Howard University, right? Tons of.
We can't say that.
So we went to a very important HBCU. The world would.
They're all important.
The world would be without certain people, certain greats, if it weren't for the mixing pot that is known as Howard University. Anyway, so one of my HU classmates recently started making candles. And in addition to just regular old candles that smell good, she started doing massage candles. I fucking love these. They smell good. They, you burn them. They make the whole house smell good. And you go like this. Well, okay, I learned with massage candles. I used to just do this and dump it on a nigga's back. Ain't supposed to. My bad. So, rub it in your hand. Rub it in your hand. You put it down, go like this. And you do a massage. Don't do one of these. Can I stick my dick in? Don't do that, okay? Don't do. Can I stick my dick in? But this is a really great massage oil. Smells good. It feels good. And it is created by, I'm sorry, you can tell I've been using mine. It's created by a Black woman. So if you want a sexy massage candle, she has a bunch of smells, flavors. Of smells from like vanilla to strawberry to come smell like a man to whatever.
Okay.
She ain't got it. It don't even call it come smell like a man, but
I'm
a little
like,
more
what does that
masculine, earthy tones. So she has a really dope website. She sells the massage candles and also a few other things, but the massage candles is what sent you. So we will include a link in our show notes if you are interested, and go hit her up.
Yeah, that's what's up.
All righty. And I think that wraps up this week's episode.
Mm-hmm. We done.
We out, motherfuckers. Ding, 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 ding.
Are you trying to fade it out?
Bitch, you weren't supposed to be talking while I fade it out. Bye, y'all. Oh, this is Erica and Killer. Two hoes making it clap. Turn it off.
This episode was produced by us, Kenrya and Erica, and edited by Ballistic. The theme music is from Rilzy. Hit subscribe right now in your favorite podcast app and at youtube.com/The Turn On Podcast so you'll never miss an episode.
Then follow us on Twitter at The Turn On Pod and Instagram at The Turn On Podcast. And you can find links to books, transcripts, guest info, what's turning us on, and other fun stuff at theturnonpodcast.com.
And don't forget to email us at theturnonpodcast@gmail.com with your book recommendations and your pressing sex and related questions.
And you can support the show by leaving us a 5-star review, buying some merch, or becoming a patron of the show. Just head to theturnonpodcast.com to make that happen.
Thanks for listening, and we'll see you soon. Holla.